Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here. Welcome back to Pass Online. And today, well first, Happy New Year. Yes, we've reached the year 2024. It's incredible. And hopefully it will be better than the last one. So I hope you enjoy the holidays. And yes, we are gonna talk today about Persian gear. My Persian gear to be exact. And Persians, if you have watched my videos for a while, you know I'm not like the biggest fan of the Persian Sith. So if you have some better gearing tips, then definitely put them in the comments, because Persians are not my number one choice Sith, no matter what, okay? But no matter what, I still have some gears, and if you feel like I should change something and have some recommendations, obviously comment section. And it's not only for me but anyone who's watching this video, if you wanna suggest some different builds for this Sith. And there's some number of units, some are like will be pretty much similar to what I was already talking about in my previous videos, because it's pretty much gonna be the same. So I'm gonna try to keep it short there. But yeah, let's go for all of these units. And number one, we have here Sparas. Now Sparas for Persian army are definitely very unique, because for Persians this is their H1 unit, not spearmen like for any other Sith. They have Sparas, so that's the number one difference. And Sparas already have some different stats to compensate for that. So they already behave differently. So if you're playing, for example, PvP, you will definitely notice they have some good pierce armor. And that's definitely their strength. But yeah, we are talking about PvE here, since we are talking about gears. So Sparas are definitely your tank units. And I would even say these guys are actually number one tank units that you can find. Like, these guys can soak so much damage. It's, I would say, insane how much damage they can soak with the right gears. It's insane, not gonna lie. And with this you can actually put so many different pieces of gear on them if you have those. But yeah, what you can see I have here right now is Zahak's Light Spear, Kukulain's Scarred Defender, Best of Theseus, and Griefs of the Ice King. Now, a lot of these can change depending on the quest you are playing, the units you see in those quests. It can be so different. Now, remember, Sparas already have very good pierce armor, so if you feel like adding some extra pierce armor, I would say you don't really need to, but in some cases it can be good. So you can do that, but they start, I believe they start at 0.5, right? Yes, exactly. So that's already very good pierce armor, if you ask me. That's very good. Then you also have the War Academy tech for extra crush armor, which puts them at like number one spot for infantry units able to soak crush damage. Also insane. And then you have a lot of upgrades that improve their health as well. The champion upgrade, the barracks tech, and then also the same tech for the crush armor also improves their health. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff helping your Sparas to get the extra health. They have very good armor. So Zahak's Light Spear is definitely gonna work really well with their armor, but I wouldn't really say it's like something I would necessarily recommend all the time. You can definitely try some different spears. Now obviously there's the Set's Light Spear that gives you a lot more health, which is definitely really good. But you can also go with the Light Spear of the King. Now why this one? This one gives you cavalry armor and melee infantry armor. So this definitely make them more resistant against cavalry, and you have to remember these guys don't have cavalry armor. So putting some extra cavalry armor can make them more like a general tank unit. So because they have the high pierce armor, they get the high crush armor. They already have some infantry armor, but the cavalry is their only weakness. So if you want to make them like resilient against everything, you just put some extra cavalry armor on them. And light spear of the king is good for that. And the infantry armor obviously helps as well. Now, one good thing about Persians is that their storehouses have this 810 tech, which allows their storehouses to heal nearby units. Now, it's only one unit at a time, but it's still 10 health per second. So that's why I feel like you don't really need the Zahak's light spear. And instead you can go like the light spear of the king, make them more, give them more armor, which goes well with the healing from the 810. And this is where I also want to recommend going with as much armor as possible. So Kukulai's Car Defender is here because of the cavalry armor again because I can soak so much damage thanks to the heals from the 810 while being able to hold off against the enemy cavalry. But obviously, if you are more worried about the enemy infantry, you can change this for some more infantry focused shield. Now it can be the one at the Roman legendary store. If you're lucky at skirmish, you can drop the King Minos' radiant shield, which gives about the same number of stats, but instead of cavalry armor it will give infantry armor. And I honestly want to get this shield at some point, but it's like I don't really want to play the skirmish that much because that can be boring at sometimes, and you also need to play for specific levels, so not really enjoyable experience. But if you want that shield, yes, you will have to somehow endure that, and it's definitely gonna take a long. So for now I'm seriously just waiting for some skirmish overhaul. So for now I have to just stick with the Kukulites, or if I wanted to I could buy the one at the Roman legendary store. And then obviously the cloth armor. This is actually very good for them because cloth armors usually offer more of the specialized armor than just the general used health. So unlike the medium armor, of course, that's what I mean. So getting a lot of armor from the cloth armor is actually a huge bonus for your Sparabaras. So whether you use the Vest of Theseus against infantry, you can use the Set's Kitten of the Solstice against cavalry again, and yes, Sparabaras will become very resilient against cavalry units with all of these pieces of gear. Like you have 19% here you have 34%, and then here you have like 23%. That's a lot of armor against cavalry, okay? Those numbers can go very high. So yeah, whichever you prefer, you can go pierce armor from the Roman legendary store, you can go with Set's Best Vest, so many options. You can go Actaeon as well. It's always up to you what do you put on your Sparabaras. What I'm gonna say, always adapt to the situation you want to, okay? So if you go against infantry, then you go more, and you go the infantry armor shield, the cloth armor, and then you can go Zahak's light spear, because if you combine all the armor with the health regen from this, and then also add the 810 on top of that, those Parabaras can survive very long time. So definitely put as much defense on them as possible. These units don't have good damage. I believe they also have one of the lowest base damages. Okay, 9 is not completely bad, but as you can see, no bonus. And I already mentioned all the upgrades. There is practically almost no upgrade that will improve their damage, other than the armor attacks and the barracks tech, okay? So you will not get that much damage from them. So it's just better to focus on their defense, no matter what. And obviously, Griefs of the Ice King. If you feel like you can try some other defensive soldiers' gears, such as you can go the Legion Warlord's Greaves, you can go the one from Cyprus, although that one reduces movement speed, which I do not really recommend, but hey, you don't have that higher cost. Now, I would say the Greaves of the Ice King are going to be the best option because it actually gives the movement speed. So when you lose the unit, you replace them faster. So you produce them, they reach the battlefield sooner. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Sparas. Great tanks, okay? So focus on the defense, 100%. I definitely recommend putting armor on them and preferably adapt to the quest so you know. So remember what armor you want to use. Remember to switch the gears. Definitely keep them in your inventory and switch them, okay? Because then the Asabaras are going to be very effective as your tanks. Moving on, second barracks unit, spearmen. And in case of Persians, you get your spearmen in H2, not H1. Okay, so these are available later, and also these are the most expensive spearmen. So that's... Personally, I don't like these spearmen, but let's say they can do that job if you need them, okay? Because as the spearmen, I would say even though they are the most expensive, they also are like the best at their job, which is countering the cavalry. They have pretty good health, very good bonus against cavalry, okay health damage, but mainly the bonus damage. And this is where I feel like I was thinking about this with Roman spearmen as well, because they already have this high base bonus and they also get extra from their champion upgrade. I mean, these spearmen start at 3.5 bonus, which is already huge if you compare it to like the other civs. Either they start at 3 or 2.5, so which is much lower. So I feel like in case of these spearmen, I would prefer some other spears, which could be Zahak spears, it could be the Piercing Frost spears, could be also Gilgamesh spears. I just feel like I don't really need the extra damage against cavalry. Even the Athena's long spear feel more, what's the word for that, appealing than the heavy spear of sacrifice. So I feel like I want to change it here. I still like the spear, of course. If you want to just do like any other spearman, then sacrifice is very good because it offers some good general damage as well as great specialization against cavalry with its cavalry armor and bonus against cavalry. It's really good, okay? It's not bad. But I feel like because those spearmen, both the Persian and Roman spearmen already are quite specialized against cavalry, I feel like I want to go more in the general direction than just even more specialized. So I feel like the Piercing Frost, Zahak's heavy spear, Gilgamesh, I don't know, Enkidu, like the other more general use spears, I feel like I want to go with those more than the heavy spear of sacrifice. So I feel like I want to start switching those more often, and I should do that definitely. And in case of these spearmen, because they are expensive, I feel like I want to focus more on the health, so I guess I would focus more on the heavy spear of the Piercing Frost or Enkidu, or whichever you feel like is better. But obviously, let's be honest, heavy spear of the Piercing Frost is gonna be generally the best spear, but if you feel like the health regen is nice, then Zahak's spear is there as well. And if you don't have those, well, it's still winter event, so you can still get the Piercing Frost. But if you don't have Zahak, like Gilgamesh is also good, or Enkidu. Like, I think all of these spears will be very useful. But like I said, if you want to keep this specialty against cavalry, sacrifice is still there. Now, I'm also using the Cuirass of Rostam, which, again, it's more about specializing against cavalry. I think here it's fine because like getting the extra armor, but obviously you can switch this with like Alexander's breastplate. You could even go, what's the other name, Gilgamesh Cuirass for extra infantry armor, so they don't die to the enemy infantry that fast. You could even go the Esfandiars if you want some extra bonus damage protection. That is an option, but like I said, I do not really support the bonus damage protection that much from Esfandiar. So I feel like you could go just dealing Archon and be like, yeah, done. I don't need anything else. Let's just go general health. That is an option. And of course, Master Assassin's Gauntlets, but obviously if I want to specialize, then we have, is it Ishtar's? Okay, Ishtar's gem started. If you want a more specialty against cavalry, it is an option. Like, you can seriously just go heavy specialization against cavalry, and then you can just put Siavash here as well. Those are still options, okay? If you want that, but in my honest opinion, I just feel like I want to go more general way. So general health, general damage. I think that's gonna be more appealing. But like I said, I'm not like the biggest fan of these spearmen. Usually I skip them because usually I don't have the need for them that much. So I don't use them that often. But obviously they are useful no matter what. Let's move on. Immortals. Now, Immortals, this is gonna be a little bit tougher because Immortals have so many ways you can play them. So many choices. Now, one thing I need to mention about Immortals, this is very specific and very unique unit because it is an infantry unit that has two damage types, melee infantry and ranged. Oh, also known as the pierce, okay? I mean the pierce damage. So this is very unique because Immortals can be used to counter pretty much any unit, because if the unit has very high pierce armor, you just go into melee range. That can be sometimes an issue, obviously, but that's what you usually want to do, and Immortals can be quite beefy units, so I wouldn't be afraid of that. And those that are close are soaking damage actually open the space for your Immortals at the distance to attack from the distance and still do some damage. Although the unit might be resistant, it's not like you will do no damage to them. No, you can still kill them from the distance. Usually the highest pierce armor units are the siege units, buildings. Now buildings you don't have to worry about because Immortals cannot attack buildings with their ranged attack. They attack only with their melee attack, so you don't worry about that. So it's gonna be like the siege. That's gonna be like the biggest issue. And then like some specific units. Now obviously battering rams, not big issue because they go into melee range. So hey, you attack them with melee range. Melee attacks, so no problem there pretty much. But it could be like shield bearers. Those are melee units. They will get close and then you just kill them with your melee attacks. What else is there? Like, let's say Celtic champions. Now those are very resilient against melee infantry damage. Same goes for the Celtic longswordsmen. Roman legionaries. Those have very huge infantry armor. Now they also have some pierce armor, but it's not that high as the infantry armor, so it's definitely easier to take them out from the distance. And you cannot forget that Immortals also have bonus against infantry, so it's not like you're really gonna worry about that. Now why I'm talking about this, because I saw people like talking about Igno armor, like how they like it on Immortals. Now personally I tried the sword of the piercing frost, and also of course I was trying before this event even started the piercing frost arrows. Now for the piercing frost, I'll be honest, I did not really like it that much. I felt like, sure, it's doing something, but I just don't see it that being that great, because if I see unit resilient, like let's say Ekkas, which already goes into melee range, I don't really need the extra Igno armor because I will do so much damage with the melee attacks. And if there's a unit that's like attacking from distance and it's not resilient against pierce, and even then, like how many units are like super resilient against pierce damage? There's few, but it's not like they will kill Immortals that easily. So I feel like with the Igno armor sword on Immortals, I did not really enjoy it. I'll be honest, I did not like it. I feel like you're better off either with Zahak, Sword of the Undying. Now why is that? Because Immortals can utilize the range damage, so you could say, hey, it's actually a ranged unit with health regen, and it can already soak quite good amount of damage as well. So yeah, they keep the distance. If you are really tryharding, you could also micro them, pull them back, and while they are at the distance, they can attack while they are also healing. So I feel like Zahak's sword is much better option than the piercing frost sword at this point. But other alternative could be like Sesostris curved Kopesh here for the maximum damage output. It can be also Tiberius for the good amount of health, so you don't really have to worry about getting into melee range. But I just feel like the piercing frost is not really useful. It can be good if you are utilizing mainly the pierce damage from the distance against very high pierce armored units, but at the same time I have to ask you, why can't you go into the melee range? That's my question. Like, what's really preventing me from reaching them with melee range? Because honestly, Immortals do so much damage from the distance that whatever is in front of those units with high pierce armor, you just kill them with the pierce damage, and then you can just go into melee range. And if the high pierce armor targets are in melee range, I mean, you're attacking them with melee damage, so who cares? And that's my problem with the piercing frost. Now, I like using the piercing frost arrows because it gives some igno armor, don't get me wrong. Some small number can be still quite useful, although I'm not like I said, I'm not like super excited about it. So I would rather go with some different arrows. If I could find some better arrows than the piercing frost. I'll be honest, these arrows are just stupidly strong. I just wish someone finally nerfed them. It's just insane how strong they are, in my opinion. Okay, it's just my opinion, but if you watch like the analysis about these arrows, and you should agree that these arrows are just stupidly strong. It's just the best arrows you can find, and I hate it. Okay, I hate it. I would just change it. Either just remove the goddamn range and just slightly buff the damage or igno armor, or just remove the general damage and then you can buff slightly the igno armor. But like having all three stats is just stupidly strong. Just the best arrows, but obviously you can adapt your Immortals because of these arrows. So you can obviously specialize your Immortals now. You can keep using some of these maximum range arrows, such as the Piercing Frost, or you can go like Darkness. You can go the... what's the name of the summer? The Ashur's arrows, yes, thank you. You can go with these if you want the extra range, or you can just go full damage mode and go like up fist. You can go Amenhotep, or you can just go full general damage with Xerxes. You can also go the one from the Germanicus arrows from the Roman legendary store for some extra health. Like the Immortals have so many options, and as fun they are, the H4 advisor for Immortals is actually making it easy to adapt your Immortals to the situations. Like, do you want them to be tanky? Do you want them to be melee fighters? Do you want them to be ranged damage dealers? Like, they have so many options. Now, two last pieces of gear. I think these are obvious. Alexandra, like maximum damage output. Like, these guys, no matter the number, they will be attacking, all of them. Like, they are infantry units. And this is very unique. Because of their range, they will be attacking from the distance. And you don't have to worry about the range that much. Like I said, if you just get the arrows here, it's fine. But yeah, if you want to focus more on the range damage, then you get the Esfandias ranged damage. And you get extra range there as well. So just focus on the damage here. Like, I wouldn't recommend the Tierce armor no matter what, because like, what's the point? I don't care. Immortals are not afraid to get into closer combat and just take some damage. And this is where the Zahak sword is very useful as well. And Master Assassin's Gauntlets, obviously, same idea, health damage. So I feel like these two are like the most obvious choices, but if you just want to go more tanky Immortals, then you can definitely replace the breastplate. I wouldn't replace the Master Assassins though. I would keep those. And just replace this one for like some of those more tanky. Like I said, you can go Rostam or Gilgamesh. You can go Esfandiar's breastplate for bonus damage protection. You can go just Delian Archon for full health. Like, you have the options here as well. But I just feel like, in general, damage health Immortals mixture is just gonna be the best no matter what. So I would suggest your Immortals like this. But like I said, if you don't have like the Zark sword, Sesostris is here, Tiberius is there. If you want to, you can still get the Piercing Frost, but I just feel like it's not gonna be that useful. In my opinion, if you're going with the Ignore armor, it's gonna be more focused on the ranged combat than the melee combat, because like I said, either you counter this with melee or you counter this with ranged. And like, who cares, okay? But yeah, it's gonna be more about the range combat. But then you're also weaker against buildings. So I'm telling you, be careful with this sword. I don't really suggest the Ignore armor here that much. Like, Piercing Frost is fine because they are stupidly strong no matter what. I wish there would be some different arrows than this, or just nerf this guy. It's just stupidly strong arrow, okay? Let's move on. Immortals. I mean, complicated unit, okay? Somewhat complicated. Moving on. Bowmen. Now, these Bowmen, pretty much typical stuff you've seen before, like with Toxotes or the Gallic Bowmen. Players just prefer to go with maximum range and then just kill enemies from the distance. Now, obviously, you can still specialize, like I did with my Toxotes, against infantry, and I feel like that's something I kind of prefer if I'm going for like early game Bowmen. Like, if I need to defend against infantry, having some extra Bowmen is nice, but their damage is terrible. Like, if you compare these Bowmen with like the Toxotes or the Babylonian Bowmen, you can see these guys, like, damage wise, are terrible against infantry in comparison to the other two Bowmen that I've just mentioned. So you could obviously focus them against infantry, whether it's with the Amenhotep, Theseus. I mean, both of these arrows are just gonna be good. You can also go the Ashur's gauntlets. Is it Ashur's? Yes, Ashur's. For extra anti-infantry damage. And it's gonna be fine. Like, I feel like I would focus them more against the early unit composition for Persians. If you go like barracks, you have Sparas soaking the Pierce, you have Spearman countering cavalry, and then you have like Bowmen countering the infantry. That's how I would kind of imagine it, okay? So it would be an option. But obviously most players just prefer going pure damage with maximum range. So obviously, Bow of the Master Hunter or the Marduk's Bow if you want to. I personally prefer the higher damage here because, like I said, their damage is terrible in comparison to the other Bowmen. So I just prefer the more general damage way, so they actually do some damage. Now here I have the Arrows of the Ice King, and this is gonna be pretty much similar to what I'll be talking about with Takabaras, because they have this huge range. If you give them the snare, the enemy units will have harder time reaching them. The snare is definitely gonna help that. But obviously, if you wanna go better damage output, then Arrows of the Piercing Frost is gonna be the best option, because with that you can destroy buildings super fast. And not only that, you can also expect a lot of higher pierce armor targets if you just go pure Bowman, or you can just expect a lot of pierce armor techs as well, whatever. But yeah, Piercing Frost, generally the best arrows for this. Then obviously Divine High Vizier's Ropes for the maximum damage, and Master Assassin's Gauntlets for maximum damage output. And you have to remember, these Bowmen will get really huge amount of range thanks to the War Academy tech. that gives extra 30% range. Then you combine it with the archery range tech for extra 20% range. And then you have the master hunter bow, you have the arrows of the Ice King, or piercing frost, or whatever, with extra maximum range. And all of a sudden you are like 44 range with these bowmen, and that's huge range, okay? Persians just have the access to the longest ranges for their foot archers, I should say, not like chariots or mounted archers or anything like that. No, it's for their foot archers. That's like one of the highest, even longer than what like Gastraphenes can get. Well, Gastraphenes will have better damage output in my opinion. But yeah, long range, and because of that you can easily utilize their high numbers of these units. So it's definitely gonna be worth no matter what. So yeah, just go maximum range, and late game you can utilize their huge numbers. And even like you have advisor that helps with your bowman as well, which is the Kavek for H4 for extra Igno armor. So if you combine it with the piercing frost, yes, you can do a lot of damage to buildings. And with Sohrab, you could even exclude Sohrab and switch him for Cosmas for extra security for your bowman, and even combine it with the Ice King's arrows for extra snare. That can also work. That could be interesting. But yeah, maximum range, maximum damage. Their health is gonna be terrible once you get the War Academy tech anyway, so let's just go with pure damage here. And if you want to specialize them, that is an option as well, if you want to focus them more on the early game. But let's move on. Takabaras is gonna be very similar. Master Assassins, Divine High Vizier for the maximum damage output, that's gonna be pretty much the same. The War Academy tech affects them as well, so they will have terrible health. They have some pierce armor, but with the low health it's not gonna help. Now, obviously we have some javelin. Here, I would say you have your options, and I would say you have quite a number of options. Now, Javelin of the Ice King is something I like to use because of it gives some good range, while also giving you some good damage against buildings, especially, and because of the quite recent buff to the anti-ranged ranged units, Takabaras can reach really huge maximum range, and I would say like one of the biggest ranges. And in case of the ranged units, this is gonna be the greatest range you can actually reach. These guys can reach like 50 range with the right gear. But I like this because I don't feel like I won't really go with the 50 range, with the 50 numbers. But it is still possible, okay? I like this. Why? Because I can still utilize that huge range while also keeping them safe with the snare. And then also extra damage against buildings, which is very nice. Now, alternatively, you can go with the Curse of the Archer for the maximum range. Someone might even go with the Neve's Javelin. I think it's the Neve's, the one from Moes, which is rather specifically for the Egyptian scouts than Takabaras, in my opinion. I don't really feel like you need this. You need Neve. I think the Curse of the Archer is gonna be much better option because of the Neve has very low damage. Let's be honest. You don't really want that. You want that maximum damage. If you want line of sight, you just build a watch post. So that's why I say Curse of the Archer is much better option. But obviously, because you already are capable of reaching like 40 range with just picking Guyana, getting all the techs. I'm not even joking. You get there, you just Guyana. You just pick Guyana H2 advisor, and you already get over 40. You could even go just full damage javelins. No joke. You can go with those. That is an option as well. So you can go the epic full damage javelin. That's pretty much the only one that's there. Unfortunately, there's no full damage legendary javelin. I would like to see some different javelins in the future, hopefully soon. Not only just the Ice King. But yeah, you have options, because you can either just go maximum range, utilize the high numbers, or you can just go better damage output. That is an option as well. All of these are possible. Now for shield, I am using the Marduk's shield, obviously because these guys, because of their huge range, you don't really have to worry about them taking damage, so it's just, why not just put the full damage on them? And obviously the faster they attack, the better damage output. Now if you don't have the Marduk's shield, you can obviously go Rostam as the alternative, and that's gonna be the best damage alternative. Damage, crit chance, some health, but what you really want to worry about is the damage output. So damage plus crit chance, it's great. And that's gonna be all about Takabaras. It's pretty much gonna be the same as Bowmen, although with Takabaras you also have Rostam. Is it Rostam? I think it's Rostam. Asabaras, more damage, mounted archers, faster. No, that was removed. Okay, that's my mistake. So yeah, you just go Kaveh. You just go Kaveh. You just go Kaveh for the extra Igno armor, and yes, Takabaras are gonna be strong, like with the Bowmen. So that's Takabaras. Okay, scouts, that's pretty much what you could see before. It's gonna be the same. Line of sight from the Tails Exalted Zyphos. Leucon's Lucky Leather armor again for the line of sight, and set sash. Simply and short, line of sight, I see enemies sooner, I can avoid them. Main purpose is to reveal the area as soon as possible, so I can see, I can place my buildings where I need to. Set sash obviously is the best item for the scouts, or at least I keep saying that. Now why is that? Line of sight, you see farther, you can see enemy units sooner, you can avoid them. If you get too close and you are in danger, you can run away with the movement speed, and if you take damage, you heal up. Best scouts special item for scouts, obviously. Nothing else to say. I just see. Obviously, if you want, you can go tanky scouts. You can go with some HP regen and then just go armor here. Those are the options here for you, no matter what. You can try that. Moving on. Now, Asabaras. Asabaras, I would describe them as hippicons, but they are like lighter version. So they are cheaper, they are available sooner, they are faster. They also train faster, I believe. I think so. How much is it? 60 seconds. Yes, that's pretty much faster. And if you need to train faster, toggle tags are there. So pretty much whatever I've recommended on hippicons you can utilize here. Now one difference, I wouldn't really go with Zahak's sword here. I think Tiberius is much better option. Asabaras will just do a lot of damage. Once you pick Rostam Advisor, they'll do a lot of damage, so you don't really need to worry about. They can be slightly weaker than hippicons, but you have to remember they are also lighter version, so they will be cheaper, easier to replace, faster to the battlefield, so you don't really have to worry about that. So I would say Tiberius for keeping them alive as long as possible, Rostam for maximum damage output while also having some extra health. You can go Guard's Hasp, crit chance is very nice for counter units, and also you can go with Ashoka's Golden Gorget, or if you feel like to going with tanky, Minotaurs is there. You can go Sargon for extra pierce armor. Like, you have the options, like with hippicons. Do you want to go like super tank, or do you want to go like more general usage? Then it's gonna be mixture of health and damage. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to the Guard's Hat with Ashoka. You don't really need like extra pierce armor. They already start with some, and Master Assassin's Gauntlets, obviously. But yeah, Asabaras pretty much are gonna work like hippicons, but it's gonna be more. It's like the unit is gonna be more focused on raiding because of the higher speed that allows them to raid, whereas hippicons, that's gonna, like, they can do that and they will be taking a lot of damage, while Asabaras will be rather faster units to get there and do the damage. Okay, so that's gonna be the main difference, but yeah, it's practically the same thing as hippicons. I mean, almost no difference. Just lighter version. Moving on, mounted archers, and you saw You might have watched one of my recent videos where I actually tried going pure mounted archers, where I did the Marduks and piercing frost, and yes, that can work, okay, but I don't really think mounted archers should be the one unit you spam no matter what. It can work in some easier quests, but I don't think it's gonna work for you for those more challenging quests, because their range is just gonna be very low no matter what. So once you see like siege units, it can hurt your mounted archers, and so I don't really recommend it that much, but if you feel like trying it, you can. So if you want to see that gear, just watch that video. I think it was the Mormon medians, so yeah, just check Mormon medians, Persians, you'll find it there. Now for build that I really like about mounted archers, now the idea for mounted archers for me is like this hit and run fast unit that counters namely cavalry, so that's gonna be the main focus here from me. So Rasbow of the Solstice for the movement speed. I also have Fist. Now you could argue with Ashurs for the extra range, but like I said, these guys have very low range. Only 15 they start, if I remember correctly. Yes. So 15 range. That's not very high, so even if you get the extra range, it can help, but I don't think it's gonna help you that much. And usually I would say they are more like a support unit for some of your other units, like for example Asabaras or Cataphracts, to counter the enemy cavalry. That's how I describe their main purpose. So I would say just get there, hit them, like kill this one unit, move them to safety if you need to, or just focus on the another unit. Okay, Guards has, I mean, these guys are attacking very slow, so if you actually get the critical hit proc, then you actually do a lot of damage thanks to their low attack rate. So that can be very useful. If you want to, you can go Ashokas. If you're not really worried about the health, you can go with the Pheredons as well, but I am not a huge fan of Pheredons. So I would say Ashoka or the Garzas, because again, they have low range. It's quite possible for them to take some damage. So I just feel like I want to have the health there. And then obviously Ishtars for the anti-cavalry damage. That is an option. Honestly, you don't really need like the general damage that much, because if you are going mounted archers as your support, you will most likely use them with Asabaras or Cataphracts. Now Asabaras, obviously they can soak some pierce damage, they can do very good damage. Cataphracts, they will just counter the enemy infantry while also being able to soak some pierce damage as well. So cavalry is obviously going to be the main target for the mounted archers, but in case of Asabaras and you see some enemy spearmen, remember spearmen don't have any base pierce armor, except of Greeks, like getting the extra from the champion tag, but it's not like that much that you wouldn't be able to kill them with the mounted archers. So even the spearmen can be focused down with your mounted archers, and if they try to go after mounted archers, you just run thanks to the high speed from the Rasbow. That's pretty much my idea. Like, I'm not really using them that much, but as a support unit they can definitely be used, and you don't really need that many of them. So that's my idea, and that's gonna be pretty much the same for the Babylonians as well. Moving on, Cataphracts. Now, Cataphracts, I would describe them as, again, as Hippicons, but these guys are more specialized against infantry, and yeah, that's pretty much gonna be the main thing. Like, these guys slaughter infantry, they can also do some extra damage against siege, but because of their higher pop cost, they will not be like that efficient as, let's say, the Hippicons. Their high pop cost is one of the reasons that players don't really go for Cataphracts that often, even though they are very powerful units. I'm just gonna say, do not underestimate the Cataphracts. Cataphracts are really strong units, and usually you see a lot of infantry units, whether it's the spearman, it can be like Immortals, Hippaspis, Hoplites, I don't know, longswordsmen, champions, like Cataphracts are gonna destroy these units no matter what. But obviously you have to remember there will be also the cavalry units, the ranged units, siege. I mean, ranged units you don't really have to worry about because there's not that many ranged units that would counter cavalry, and there are only the mounted archers. Those can be an issue, but luckily Cataphracts get some extra pierce armor from their champion upgrade, so that can definitely help them survive longer. So the main issue are gonna be the cavalry units, obviously. That's what you have the mounted archers for. But if you just wanna go pure Cataphracts, these would be my recommendations. Now, thanks to their very high armor, especially when they got buffed for their melee infantry armor, I would suggest using Zahak's heavy spear for the health regen, which is very good with their high armor. Definitely works well together. Now, alternatively, you can go with the heavy spear of the piercing frost, and this one, because they are late game units, you can definitely expect enemy units already having some armor attacks, and so the piercing frost heavy spear is just gonna be very useful at that point, giving you some very good damage output. So that is also a very good alternative. Now I have Guard's Hasp here. I like the crit chance, cavalry units. Now why I say cavalry units? Because there's really not that many units that would have like super high cavalry armor. Like there are a few, but it's not like there's that many. So when you hit those units that don't have the cavalry armor with a critical hit, it hurts a lot. And usually cavalry units are like not the fastest attacking units, so because they attack slower, their damage output is definitely gonna be very high, and if you apply the critical hit chance, it's gonna hurt. Now alternatively, obviously there's Ashoka's Golden Gorget. That is also an option. You can go with that as well. But there's something about Guard's Hasp that I just feel like I want that more. Okay, but obviously if you prefer Ashoka, it is an option. If you want to go more tanky build for Cataphracts, it is a possibility as well. Minotaurs, Sargons, whichever you prefer, it is an option as well. But then you need to make sure there's enough damage for you to clear the battlefield and the buildings, okay? And then obviously Master Assassin's Gauntlets. Like, if you want, Ice Greaves are also an option. But yeah, I prefer like the more general build here. Moving on, Battering Rams. Now, Battering Rams, that's gonna be pretty much the same as with my previous units. So focus Ramhead on the damage, and the rest is just gonna be health. So Ramhead of the Knum. Now, since this last summer event, we got the Ras Ramhead changed. So this is also the alternative. Now, it can be like, you can use the Ras Ramhead if you don't already have the Ramhead of Knum. Or if you just prefer the movement speed. Like, Ramhead of Knum, more damage focused build for the Battering Rams, while this will just offer better movement speed, so you reach the targets sooner. That's also a good choice, so whichever you prefer, go with that. Then obviously Legion Warlords Armoring and the Legion Enforcers Wheels for the maximum health, so the Battering Rams last for as long as possible. Now why do I like that? Battering Rams have very good armor against melee units, against pierce damage units. Health is gonna be very useful. Now obviously you don't want to use Rams against crush damage units because they will just destroy those. But if you are playing quests where you don't really see the siege, then yes, just pure health is gonna be more than enough. Like these Rams, since it's siege, they can soak a lot of pierce damage, and with the extra health they get here, they obviously can get like 1100 health, and with their pierce armor, that's a lot. Okay, so never underestimate the resistance against pierce damage of these Rams. Okay, they can soak a lot. But obviously I mean, Rams got really good buff. Like the cost going down was definitely great. So definitely they are much more usable than before. So yeah, this is what I recommend. Now, I already said you can go to Ram Head if you wanna go something different. Could be the Scipios Ram Head from the Roman Legendary Store, or extra pierce armor so they can soak even more. I would still stick to the Legion Enforcers, but you can obviously go with Delian wheels for extra damage if you want to. I just don't think Rams really need that, and I will just stick to the health, okay? But for the plating, you can go with, I think it's Trifons. I think it's Trifons, not Heavy Destroyer. Yeah, Trifons for health and damage if you want the mixture. That can work as well. Otherwise, I don't really recommend any other plating. I don't think there's any worth. Like you could go like not heavy iron armoring, but the Archimedes armoring if you want the crush armor. That can help sometimes, but I would not really go with that. I just feel like the general health is better option here. So yeah, Battering grams. War wagons. Now war wagons, I would say very similar to what the elephant archers are, but still different since they are siege units. So you don't really have to worry about them getting too close and taking some pierce damage, because they're siege units, they will soak a lot of pierce damage. So not really, no need to worry about that. And you can just worry about them doing enough damage. And preferably with some units in front of them, like for example Sparas, where you don't really have to like sacrifice any advisors for Asabaras to be effective. So you can just focus on the advisors for war wagons. So that's what I would suggest. And because Asabaras are like very tanky units, you can just focus more on the damage build, maybe even like movement speed. That's why I have the bow here. Now I have the arrows here, but obviously I would go with the piercing frost here. I just have this right here right now at the moment, but yeah, piercing frost would be the better option. Heavy destroyer for maximum damage, Delian adapts wheels for maximum damage. Now obviously someone might just go maximum range, whether it's the Marduk's or Master Hunter's bow. Obviously it works just like with ranged units, but because this is siege unit, I would say you don't have to be too afraid to get them a little bit closer. It is also an option, but yeah, if you just prefer the maximum range, it can be nice to have at least like 40 range, but because of the Xerxes change to give them extra range, is it there? Attack, see 25% farther. If we take a look at the stats, 27, you get like 25%, which is like 34, and then you just add the arrows for extra 10%. You are already at 37. If you want the bow, definitely can be useful as well to get some extra range there. So whatever you like, I feel like this is gonna be more than enough. With the advisor you will have more than enough range, but if you want more, obviously Marduk's Master Hunter. I mean, it's just gonna be like the ranged killer, no matter what. Palintonoi, pretty much gonna be the same story as before, just go maximum range. So Blessed Dionysus is throwing arm, the runic heavy iron armoring, and then just maximum damage from dealing adapts wheels. I mean, obviously Palintonoi, you just wanna place them, they will be standing in place, so you wanna reach the great as far as possible with the range. So that's why going with the maximum range. Nothing else to say about them. Okay, galley, that's the Persian arrow ship. That's gonna be pretty much the same as with the other ships. So whichever bow you prefer, you can go just Master Hunter for maximum range. You can go with what's the other one with lower range? I forgot its name. Was it Actaeon? I think it's Actaeon. I think that's the one. If not, that it's gonna be the Uh, Not easiest. Amenhotep, I think. One of those two. With small buff to the range. That is also possible. But most likely you will prefer the maximum range here. So you utilize the high numbers. Now, biggest preference on common theorios is burning arrows for the anti-ship damage. But if you want to destroy buildings with your arrow ships, then piercing frost is your obvious choice. Typhon, so I go for the combination of health and damage and not just pure damage or pure health. No, I think because of the high numbers, the good damage you can get, it's just better to have the mixture. And usually you don't want to mix in the ram ships because that'll just be in the way. Okay, it's just gonna be a little bit, what's the word, clumsy. I think it would be clumsy to put them together. But yeah, if you feel like putting the ram ships there, it's also possible. But usually you will just go with one and screw the other. And then I have the Ashur Strider of the Solstice. I like this for the early game. If I just need the ships early. But overall I like it no matter what because of the lower cost, the training time. Movement speed is also nice. But if you just want something in general that you can utilize always, then it's gonna be the Haddad's Remarkable Haul. It increases the cost, which is something I don't really like on naval units, since they already cost a lot, but because of the stats you're getting, it's definitely gonna be worth the cost. And it's definitely gonna mean more pop efficient army in the late game, so it is an alternative. This is more early game, this is more late game. So whichever you prefer, but yeah, maximum range, common Torios, Typhons, that's what I suggest. Now ram ships, since this is the first ram ships are, I'll be honest, after the last update I'm like so angry that it actually went through because ram ships became, in my opinion, like super strong. And they were already good before. I'm like, people like just needed to use them more. They were fine before. It's just they are different, okay? Now obviously you need to get like units that will help you destroy the enemy bases. So whether you land your units or you just go with siege boats, you will need those. But ram ships on their own, they could actually hold the line quite nicely. Now one good thing about them, they have very good health. They can get very good health, which is good advantage, but in the late game it's not gonna be as good as with the fire ships with their champion upgrade, giving them extra bonus damage protection. That would help them against towers, that would help them against fire ships or enemy ram ships. No, ram ships don't have that luxury like the fire ships. Plus they are melee, so again, that's some advantage for the fire ships again because they have some range. Fire ships are gonna be like the one of the most dominant ships on the water, no matter where you look. Okay, definitely if you are going for naval battles, fire ships are just gonna be very powerful units there. So for ram ships, that's gonna be slightly different than what I would go with fire ships, since there is no ram head against ships, which honestly, I wonder why is there no anti-ship ram head. I mean, I guess it's obvious because that would be like #1 choice for damage output. But because we have the Scipios ram head, I guess it would be like good alternative because at this point I was using the Ras ram head, but because it got reworked and now it's like the damage is much lower than what it used to be, but the movement speed is still better. Now, because I feel like the Ras ram head, with its change, has become much worse for the ram ships and much better for the battering rams. So I feel like because of the change, the ram ships actually lost one of their options for the ram heads, and I kind of like the movement speed on them and didn't want to go with Scipios. But unfortunately, I just have to say Scipio is like the best ram head you can put on your ram ships right now, because I feel like there is no other. Now, you could go like the Athena's ram head, but I feel like that ram head is just not worth crafting. That's number one thing. Number two, damage is nice, but it's like 10% difference from the CPO, so relatively it's even less. So not really worth it in my opinion, okay? So just go with CPO's ram head. It's definitely gonna help your ram ships to survive much longer, like 20%. That ain't no joke. And because of the buff to the pierce armor, I mean, that's not even funny how much they can soak pierce damage now. Like, I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind this change if it was done through the champion upgrade. Like, the early ram ships should have stayed weaker. Once you get the champion upgrade, you will get the extra pierce armor. That would help them soak the extra pierce damage. I think it should have been done this way. I would understand that, but just giving them the pierce armor from the get-go, it's just insane, okay? And CPOs is just further buffing that. And it's insane how much pierce damage you can soak with that. And you have to remember, you will be taking damage from enemy arrow ships, you'll be taking damage from static defenses. That's already a lot of pierce damage you can soak with these ram ships. Now, obviously, there are other types of damages your ram ships will be taking, and most likely what you will see being used against that is going to be crush damage, and that's why I'm suggesting using the armoring of the Archimedes. And at this point, I'm like, because of the high pierce armor, like the crush armor is the only other damage source that I would be worried about. And that's pretty much the only threat they have. So armoring of the Archimedes is gonna be definitely the best option for your ram ships. You could go with Typhon as well, but I feel like because ram ships do crush damage, you don't really have to go extra on their damage. But obviously, it's not a bad choice. And their ship accessory, I recommend Hanno's Heavy Hull because it's a lot of health with no extra cost. It's very good. They'll be able to soak so much damage, and if you need to replace them, it will not cost you that much. One small advice, you can definitely use ram ships as Persians with Bahram, because Bahram, and I mean the H4 advisor, Bahram advisor affects all military units, and since this is a military naval unit, you will get some extra movement speed with that, okay? So it's very good there. You don't have to worry about movement speed. If you want movement speed, Bahram is there to help you. So yeah, just focus on the defense for your ram ships. That's what I'm gonna suggest. And I'll be honest, I cannot imagine like what could be better than this, okay? I cannot even tell what would be better than these 3 pieces of gear on ram ships. So that's my suggestion. I totally recommend that. And all 3 of these, like the CPOs and Archimedes, you can easily buy from stores. Hanno's Heavy Hull, if you don't have the recipe, there's also epic version which you can get and should be much easier to get. So yeah, definitely go with this. But if you want to try some different builds, obviously you can. But I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, this is the best you can get. Magus, so this is the priest. So obviously I'm gonna recommend, as with any other priest, Alpiteps for maximum range, Ropes of Babylon for the cost, Lux Idol for the cost mainly, small extra health, but health regen if you need to keep them alive for some reason that they took some damage. Now, I don't really want to suggest any other stuff for them because the Magi will actually have very low conversion rate once you get their War Academy tech. That improves their conversion rate by 50%. Yes, it cuts it in half. Now you have to remember, in H3 though, before you get the tech, these have like one of the worst conversion rates you will find. So if you're just going for H3 Magi and you want to convert enemy units, then you can go with the conversion rates staffs, or staves I should say. That can be a good option. But once you get the tech and you're using Mehrab, I'm just gonna say Ahab Piteps is gonna be your best choice, because the long distance you will get from it, and with the speed you're converting, yes, that's gonna be just the best thing you can get, okay? And because they will have the extra range, you can just get them for lower price with the ropes of Babylon and Zax Idol, and that's it. Like, if you are not going for maximum range, then you'll most likely get to the closer range. Then I would suggest maybe going with more defensive cloth armor, but still sticking to the Zax Idol. If you don't have Zax Idol, then obviously pure health is an option. You can go also the tablet for faster production. That's it. Nothing about this. Villagers. Now here, I suggest Hammer of Kalech, because I keep saying this is gonna be the best tools for villagers. Then Tunic of the Collector for the food. Obviously the Roman tunic is also an option for the wood. And then Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine for the training time, which obviously is for a good reason. The more villagers you have, the more resources you will have, obviously. So the faster you produce them, the better. Now, in case of Persian, I could suggest also one more build, but this is gonna be ideal for when you start in H3, or you can easily reach the H3 and get the War Academy up and running, because of the toggle tech from the War Academy that improves the villager production time while also changing their cost. Now, for this, I suggest using the ropes of Babylon as an option, although it will make the villagers much worse later for the lower, because of the lower gathering rates. And then replacing the Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine with Gedda's Gardening Essentials. Now, why is that? Because of the toggle tech, their cost gets changed to the gold. Now, I'm not gonna go into extra details with this, maybe some other times, but basically, if your villagers cost less than 40 food, you can reach that easily with Agathon, Thought, and like, I mean, you don't really need the ropes of Babylon, but like the Gedda's Gardening Essentials, if you get that, and you get that cost below 40, you toggle the tech on, that will cost 40 gold, but whenever you train them, you will actually generate food for that. So you definitely can do something like that. Now, I'm not go into details how this works exactly right here, right now, but you can do that. It is an option if you want to do this magic trick, okay? Well, magic trick for now. It's something I can easily explain, but I'm not gonna do it right now, some other time. But yeah, in general, I suggest this, but if you start in H3, or you easily can reach H3 with the Work Academy being built as well, then you can go with the Gedda's Gardening Essentials and just go low cost and utilize this trick. Okay, moving on. Fishing boats. Now, this is gonna be pretty much the same, with one difference. Okay, Council oversees fishing nets, Setrets, sacrificial arrows, artificers, iron plating, and Hull of Khufu. So obviously it's gonna be pretty much the same. Lower cost, so fishing boats are much more affordable, and then movement speed for the long distance fishing, because there is no better plating for this, to be honest. Now, why Council oversees fishing net? Now, the Persian fishing boats actually have only one upgrade to the gather rates, only the first one, the H2 one. So this is one of the, I would say it's quite a weakness, because that makes them much worse for the late game gathering, and their fishing boats, yes, they will not be as effective as, let's say, the Greek ones or Egyptian ones or the Norse ones. Definitely not. Or not even Celts or Babylonians, okay? Only Romans are on this same level, okay? And because of that, now you could obviously go with like the higher gather rates, which definitely can work if you're going only for the short distance gathering, okay? And usually that's when you gather like few fishing spots. If you're going for long distance, however, because of the tech, if you would have access to the tech, you would be getting extra carry capacity, and because of the carry capacity, it would make it definitely more effective for the long distance gathering. But because you don't have the techs, it's definitely going to be better to go with the higher movement speed, so you save the time between the travels, and because you'll be traveling a lot more often, it's definitely going to be very effective for you to have the extra movement speed there. That's why I suggest using the console overseers fishing nets. But obviously, if you're going only for the short distance fishing, then obviously you can go the Delian nets. Is it Delian? No, wait. The nets of the Argo, that's the one. You can go the Argo nets, you can go the craftable one, the nets of the moon, I think they're called. Those are also options, okay? But I just prefer the console overseer fishing nets. Caravans, I mean, it's gonna be pretty much the same. So, the most efficient merchant log of the Nile, in my opinion. Robes of Babylon for the lower cost, so I can afford their production. And then I like the Ishtar's Divine Wine here because it combines the movement speed and training time, so I can produce them faster with lower number of markets while also having some of their efficiency here as well. Obviously, you could go the Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine for faster production. You can go Delian Hood for the fastest movement speed and so the most efficient caravans. You could go Gedda's Guarding Essentials for the lower cost as well. Now for the cloth armor, obviously Babylon is here, but you can go with any of the movement speed ones, whether it's Menace, Turin, whichever you prefer. If you just want the maximum effectiveness, then it's gonna be the Turin. Merchant Log, I think that's gonna be the best one, no matter what. But obviously, if you don't have that one, then you can go with the super tasty carrot, the one as a reward from Tarsos questline. You can definitely use that as well. But once you get the log of the Nile, then log of the Nile, obviously. Merchant transport. Now here I would prefer the tasty carrot because of the movement speed, so I can transport my units, which is most likely what I'll use those merchant transports for. But obviously, for trading, it's gonna be great as well. So Merchant Log of the Nile I have here for now. I have the Commentorious Burning Arrows here. I think this is just because I don't really want to buy the Germanicus arrows or the Jupiter's arrows for movement speed. So definitely this is like arrows I'm just holding here. Artificer's Iron Plating for the movement speed, that's obvious. Also Hatshepsut for the maximum movement speed. I mean, movement speed, just go fast, okay? That's my idea. So that's why I would rather have the tasty carrot here. Now for... instead of commentaries, like I said, I would either have the Germanicus for extra help, so when I'm dropping off my units and suddenly my transports are taking damage, they can survive a little bit longer. So that's that, or just go movement speed from the Jupiters. I just feel like Jupiters is like... I need to spend time, spend coins to get like 2% movement speed. I just don't feel like doing that, to be honest. I could, but I don't really want to do that. So, in my opinion, it's just better to go with Germanicus and be done, or whichever arrows you feel like putting here. Does not really matter. I'm not really like, I need these arrows for these ships because it's a must and it's the best. Nah, you don't really have to worry about that much. Okay, last unit, Mangonel Galley. For this one, Marduk's Siege Arm of the Unyielding, Ishtar's Scarf Plating, and Hadad's Remarkable Hull. Now, obviously, depending on the situation, what you want to do, you could switch this with your palintonoi gears and go with maximum range. So it would be like Blessed, Dionysus, and the Runic Iron Plating for the maximum range. That is also a possibility. Now, most likely I would probably place it here for the plating, but at this stage, at this point I'm having this, and this is more like I'm focusing on the maximum damage output here. Now, one issue I always had with the Mangonel galleys was it feels super random how they are attacking. Like it feels like one time they attack like really fast, the other time it's like I feel like they could have attacked like 2 times already, but they did not attack. And I don't know if that's like part of the animation or what, but it always feels super annoying to see that. So I feel like Marduk's Siege Arm is seriously the best you can put here because of this weird thing. And I swear it keeps happening with only these Mangonel galleys. Always these. They could have attacked like 2 times already, but they did not. It's super annoying. Ishtar, just for the maximum damage output. Hadat, again, this is focused on the damage, not anything else. And there is pretty much no better ship accessory for the maximum damage output, so Hadat is gonna be the best choice here, no matter what. And you don't really wanna soak too much damage with the Mangonel galleys, and rather use the ram ships or even your normal galleys for that. So yeah, better avoid the enemy damage for your Mangonel galleys, okay? And that's all the units. Buildings I'll keep for some other specific gearing for buildings in general. So that's my gears for Persians. I explained my ideas, why I feel like this is good, why I would use this, why, and so on. So definitely leave a comment. What do you think about this? God damn, my voice. I'm losing my voice. Yes, my gears. Tell me what you think. What would you change? What would you recommend using instead of what I said? And remember, it's not only for me, it's for anyone who's decided to watch this video all to the end. You can see, oh my god, over an hour long. Jesus. But I need to say everything I needed. Okay. So yeah, like this if you enjoy this. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment whether you want to say something nice, whether you want to say like some different pieces of gear. It's always nice to leave a comment. And yes, I'll see you next time. And I'll be honest, I just want to start playing other games now. Oh god, I think I'll start making other games videos again because it's been so long. Let's be honest. I just want to put this here, okay? Just this small comment. Now, it's okay if you don't really want to watch them, but if you want to find some different, interesting, whether you care, whether you're not, whether you just want to laugh at me how bad I am, or wonder how good I am, or whatever is just gonna happen. If you want to watch, you can definitely watch. I would be grateful. This was Psychosaurus. I'll see you next time. Bye.